Today's video, I'm going to be making over this stool that goes to a vanity I'm redoing for my sister. Basically the same process that I'll be doing to the vanity is what I did to my armoire that I turned into a coffee bar. So I'll link that video down below in case you want to watch that process on something bigger. But first we're going to take the cushion off or the seat off, use some crud cutter or degreaser, clean the piece, let it dry, then we can get to painting. Now I'm only using crud cutter because not only is it a degreaser, but if you use something scrubby enough like a Scotch pad or a Brillo pad or even stainless steel would work. Basically, because you want to just clean all the old oils from your hands, just over time. Anything nasty, basically, you want off. But also, if you use something scrubby enough, it will act like a sandpaper. So you're basically roughing up the surface. So when you paint, it will adhere to your piece. So let's get started. Got the screwdriver.
Gotta take the big screws out.
We gotta take the screws out so Mommy can take the cushion off.
Is that signals for the screws out?
Yeah, well, they're not little screws. Well, yeah, I guess they are kind of little.
Yeah, or little. That.
Are you gonna supervise Mommy while I do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watching.
You're gonna watch. Make sure I'm doing it
Yeah,
right.
these are big
Yeah, but those are for the legs. Mommy's not gonna take the legs off.
They are.
No, but if Aunt Trish wanted Mommy to strip it down so that it was bare wood, then yes, Mommy would take the legs off because it would just be easier to sand it and strip it. But I can't really do that kind of thing out the snow bag and with a spray bag. You can hold them, but don't open them, okay? Yeah. Well, we don't need plastic. I think we're going to redo
There you
it.
go.
No, Mommy don't need it yet. Actually, I can move this now. We'll do the seat last. Let's go this way. In smaller pieces like this, it's best if you flip them upside down, especially when you're painting, because then that way while you're doing the top side, the bottom side is already dry and you don't have to, I mean, if you want to do it backwards, you could, because I do it backwards sometimes too.
There you go.
No, Mommy don't need that yet, baby.
Go do that.
Mommy's going to turn it like this, so I can spread it.
That's not going in my eyes, is it?
Well, Mommy don't want you to get too close. Don't touch, okay?
Go down.
It's alright.
Go down floor. Go down table.
It's alright. Mommy's got to redo the table in the spring anyways. That will be an upcoming video, probably within the next few months, when it's not so snowy and freezing outside.
Gotta do that box to put on forward.
It's okay, Mommy will clean it.
Clean a wall. You got clean a wall.
Yeah. And this is a dark
You got
finish.
clean a feet.
Even though I'm not really stripping it for the stain to poke through, there's still some spots that are bare that when I do go to paint, it very could well bleed. If that does, then I'll have to go back in with a primer. But no big deal, because they both dry fairly quickly. Especially now, because we got the wood stove going, because it's winter time here. Well, winter time everywhere. Some places get snow, some places don't. We just happen to be one that gets snow and ice. Don't touch, because that'll ruin your shirt. No.
That's one right here. Eat that down foot.
It's pretty grubby.
Yeah.
Put those down, baby.
See?
And we'll give it a rinse.
I saw you. See? That's not open. See? And that's not open.
Yeah.
Mom, see? This and that's not open.
No.
I saw you. See? That's not open.
Okay.
And that's it. I can't open them.
Mm-hmm.
Or put it.
And I also have a little bit of Dawn dish soap in my rinsing water. And then once I've scrubbed it all and rinsed it all, then I'll go in with just clean warm water and rinse the whole thing and let that dry.
Mom, that little ones.
Yep, that's,
And little ones.
they're not rugs, honey, they're felt pads for the bottom so it doesn't scratch the floor. But please leave them on. No, because Mommy's gonna spray now. Well, no, we're getting low.
Got me on. I made it.
You're silly.
I did one.
You're pretending you're painting?
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing an awesome job. You like that for Mama? Yeah, but don't lose it because Mama's gonna need it, okay? I think I already did that leg. Ain't gonna hurt nothing. Do it again. I don't know if you can tell now on this leg, but using crud cutter and like that brown scrubby I was using helped dull the finish. Not so much to remove the finish, but enough so that your paint will stick to it. And you can use any paint. Because I'm doing the same process I did on my coffee bar, I'll be using the same paint, which is just what I had on hand. It's the Valspar Floor and Porch paint, patio paint, in the color Soulful Gray, which is like, it's almost like a light taupey color with like an undertone of a gray, if that makes sense. Or vice versa, however you want to look at it.
What are you doing?
down again, and then yep, that's the one that Mommy uses for cleaning furniture with. You can't see you. I'll pause you here and change my water. Alright, got some clean water to rinse.
What's the bubbles?
Mommy dumped them out because I don't need bubbles. Mommy's got to rinse all the residue and stuff off from cleaning it. Now we'll let this dry and then Mommy can start painting. Well, we'll do a test spot. Like where it's kind of going through some of the finish and make sure it's not going to bleed. Because I don't want to paint the whole thing and then have to go back through and prime it all. So it's best to do a test spot where, like, I don't know if you can see on camera, but some of the finishes broke through almost to the bare wood. So I would test right there and let it dry. And if any red starts to come through, then I'll know I should prime the whole thing. But not every piece is going to bleed. But if you're unsure, it would be one extra step to prime the whole thing. But it would be having to paint the whole thing just to find out for it to bleed. And then you have to go back through and prime the whole thing anyways and then repaint. So if you're just unsure whether it's going to bleed or not, I would say prime it. Then at least you know you're safe. And you should always get a primer that has a stain blocker in it or shellac based. Or if you can't get something like that and it's just a small little spot, you have shellac or even a clear coat, whether it be polyacrylic or polyurethane. I wouldn't do like a thick coat, but I would just do maybe a light coat where it is bleeding. And then let that dry. If you're using polyurethane, you're going to want a couple days for it to fully dry and kind of cure. And then take like a 220 grit sandpaper and lightly go over the spot that you clear coated, so that when you do go to paint, your paint will stick to that spot.
What is this one? Oh, I had a silver.
But a polyacrylic is water-based, whereas polyurethane is oil-based. That's why you want a couple of days for it to fully dry and cure, because it is oil-based. But like I said, polyacrylic, if that's what you have, is water-based. It only takes, I think, like 2 hours to fully dry. And then, or maybe it's 30 minutes to fully dry, but to recoat is 2 hours. Something like that. I don't have the can out here for me to read, but it's something like that. There, I think we're pretty much all wiped down. Now we'll just let this dry. There you go. We'll put this away. You be careful with that, okay? Have you opened it?
Yes.
Nope, not yet. Want to try again?
Open right here.
No, it's not. You gotta put it in there and push it up. Just be careful. Yep, push it up. Okay, now we gotta turn and go to this side. Right there. Oh, almost. Go right here. Push it out. Now. There. Oh, shakalaka, huh?
I opened it.
Yeah.
That goes in there.
No, we're not gonna put it in there because Mama's gonna start painting it, okay?
That goes on the table. That goes
Yeah,
in there.
but Mommy don't want to get paint on it, so you gotta get it out of there for Mommy.
See, it's a table right there.
Yeah.
And I didn't paint on it. Yeah.
Something else I should mention is I sometimes see furniture refinishers, especially on YouTube, not mixing their paint good enough or their stain. Whether it's water-based or oil-based, you should always stir it, no matter what. Because a lot of the colorings will settle to the bottom and you won't get a uniform color, whether that's paint or stain. So you should always stir it. Even if you just get paint from the store and they've already mixed it and it's shooken up, you still want to stir it just to be sure. At least that's what I do anyways. There. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Yeah? Start with the legs. Part of the legs, anyways.
I want to that pink. Oh, I want that pink.
We'll start with this leg. Do a thin coat and see. Because the finish isn't broken too much on this leg, but it is over here and it is here on the side. But I don't really want to get paint on the side, so I think I'll try this leg where the finish is broken through. And we'll make sure it's not going to bleed through. I know I said I was going to do the side, but then I got to thinking, well, I don't want to get any more paint on the table than what's already on it. You're right. Mommy made a mess with paint, huh?
Yeah, you did.
I did.
You pick it up.
I did clean it, but Mommy didn't clean it good because Mommy's going to redo the table.
Oh, that's big fever. Mom. A big fever.
It is a big table.
Yeah.
There. We'll let those two dry. And it's better to do multiple thin coats than it is to just glob it on there and expect it to dry. It'll take longer to dry. There, we'll let those two legs dry. No, Mommy's not. No. Mommy's not gonna take those ones yet. We gotta let these two dry and make sure they're not gonna bleed. So I think what I'm gonna do while I let this dry is start working on the seat. Right there, and then we can see if we can seal this. So the little test coat I did on both legs doesn't seem to be bleeding, which is good. So we can go forth and do a full first coat, let that dry. I'm thinking 2 coats, but possibly 3 coats. Coat on the legs is dry, but using the paintbrush is giving it too much of a texture for what I'm going for. I'm trying to go for a smoother finish, but it's winter here in New York, so I can't really do spray painting or a spray gun, which I don't have anyways, but gotta work with what I have. So I think I'm gonna opt to using a roller versus using the paintbrush. Just that way I can get a smoother finish. So, let's do it. So I'm going to flip it and do the first coat on the sides with the roller. I'll let that dry, then I can do the whole second coat with a roller, if that makes sense. And I just think it'd be an easier coat. Not easier, thinner. Using the roller, and it'd be more of an even coat, if that makes sense. Well, the stool is all dry, or the base is all dry. Now I'm going to put the seat cover cushion back on. I'll do that off camera and then I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. The cushion's back on the stool. Now just to dry brush some brown in there. Now the second coat is dry. Now I'm going to mix these two colors together. Melted chocolate and khaki. Apple barrel. You find these right at Walmart. I think some are $1, some are 50 cents. Not bad. So, and I think if I just used the chocolate, I think that would be too dark. Using just the khaki is too light. So I'm going to mix the two and kind of get like a lighter brown to dry brush just to warm up this taupey gray. Just a little bit. Everything is fully dry. I'm gonna wax the whole piece, and I'm using Min.Wax paste finishing wax in the natural color. I do have the dark, but because I already put brown on here with a dry brush, well, paint and dry brush, basically, I figured the natural would be perfect and it won't warm it up too much. So that's what we're going with.
What is the tape?
And that's what it looks like.
The tape. What is the tape?
It's not tape, honey, it's wax.
What the wax?
get all over your hands and get all yucky.
You slipped. She slipped. Look, you slipped. See? See his lips.
Then I'll go in with like a tack cloth and take off all the excess wax
What are you doing?
that doesn't get absorbed. And then once it fully dries, then you can buff it. And I think
I do that.
if the more you buff it, I feel like the shinier it would be. But that's totally your preference on how much you want to buff it. Now that the wax is all dry, I'm going to go in with a Valspar antiquing glaze. I don't know if you can see it or not. And you're probably like, why would you wax it and then put the glaze on? I did it that way because I don't want the like chalk paint or the whitewash type paint that I put on there to absorb too much of the glaze. So I put a barrier so that it only absorb a little bit versus too much. Because you can add more, you can't really take away unless you take everything back off. And because there's wax on there, I would have to take everything off. So that's why I did it that way. And you could use a paintbrush, you could use a foam brush, a damp one, a damp napkin. I'm just using a damp, kind of, well, more than damp, kind of wet rag just to apply it. And once it starts to dry, you can then go in with something dry or even damp and kind of take back a little bit. But once it's fully dry, and once it's there, it's there. And a little bit goes a long way. See what I'm doing. This side first. And it's very liquidy. I don't know if you can tell or not, but and this will also help tone back some of the white. And kind of just help everything blend more evenly. At least that's my opinion anyways. Like I said, you can always add more if you need to. If you don't want to glob it on there and let it dry. Just once it's there, it's there. Kind of like a stain, but you're basically glazing over paint. versus glazing over stain, if that makes sense. Excuse me. Sorry if I sound a little congested. I'm back to having a sinus infection or something. I had it a few weeks ago, well, probably about a month ago now.